reproduce. Okay? So you can take the babies and then transplant them into the field. Or, at maturity, a flower stalk called the quiote shoots up. Okay, again, it might be 6 years, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And the flower stalk produces seeds. Okay? So you can take those seeds and germinate them and grow your agave from seed that way. And that's genetically, that's a good way to reproduce your agave. But it takes a long time. If you let the flower stalk continue, flowers appear on top of it. And the flowers turn into baby agaves. For commercial production, people go up on ladders, and I think they pinch part of it to make sure that all these flowers turn into baby agaves. In nature, not that many do, but some of them will blow over and stick to the ground, and then when the flower stalk, because the plant is going to die, eventually the flower stalk will fall over, and some of the babies will stick to the ground. Okay? So those are the three ways: from seeds, from the babies on the top, or from the hijuelos that come out from the mother plant. Most people still will use the babies from the top, okay? And what you'll do is, when they're about that big, you plant them in a field like that, okay? And during the dry season, you water them. There's some little ones way over there, and there's some bigger ones here, okay? And during the dry season, you water them once or twice a week. And then during the first half of the rainy season, when they get to be the biggest size of those, okay, you transplant them in the fields in rows plants about 1 meter apart. And if you transplant during the rainy season, you don't have to do any irrigation for the remaining 7 or 8 or 10 years, okay? So esos de quiote? O de semilla?
Puro quiote.
De quiote, okay. Okay, so those came from a flower stalk, okay? Y de esos quiotes, ¿cuántos quiotes para esa cantidad? Como 3, 4, 2 quiotes nada más.
Dos quiotes. Y este de aquí arriba es uno, el que está pequeñito.
Okay, so all of this line came from 2 flower stalks, from 2 plants were able to produce this whole line, and the other smaller ones from 1 flower stalk. So that gives you an idea of the potential for agave reproduction.
Ese está en almácigo y para la ladita ya está sembrado.
Ah, okay.
Ya está más retirado.
Okay, sí.
Ya
Pero,
está.
¿vas a transplantar esos?
Sí. Este se va a transplantar, sí, pero para la ladita ya está trasplantado,
okay.
Ya están, sí, va a crecer.
Okay, so the agave will be transplanted in rows, and they'll be about 1 meter apart. The distance between the rows depends on if the grower wants to plant other crops or doesn't want to plant other crops. Or if he's planting crops, if he wants to be able to have 2 oxen and a plow come in between the rows will be from there to here. If he's just going to plow it by hand, the rows will be from there to here. If he's not going to plant anything in between the rows, then they could be closer together. Okay? So the plant grows, and it can be 20 pounds, it can be 1,000 pounds. Okay? A piña can be 1,000 pounds. Okay? The ones that I sold, the largest size was 220 kilos. Okay, so that's 500 pounds.
So how big was that plant?
The plant, well, I guess like this.
Yeah, I was up in Llano, but they're using agave for fences. They're making huge fences. I mean, they just become gigantic.
Yeah. It's a different species.
Yeah, but I mean, they grow really large.
Yeah. Okay, so the best way to make mezcal is when the plant matures and the quiote first appears, you cut it off, and you leave the plant in the fields anywhere from a couple of months to a year, even longer. Okay? And the reason that you do that is the plant knows that it's going to die, and it wants to reproduce, and it wants to produce seeds and baby agaves. So all the nutrients from the terroir can't go up into the quiote because you've cut it. So all those nutrients gather up in the base or the heart of the plant, which is good. All the carbohydrates. And then you come back into the fields with a machete, cut the leaves off, and then with another tool, which I'll show you later, where the ground meets the plant, with a mallet, you cut it out of the ground, and that's the part that's used. Okay? The leaves are left in the field, and slowly they start to dry, and once they get a little bit lighter, other people will gather them up and use them as firewood. So people live off of the leaves. Okay, I have two very close comadres, and they sell a pre-Hispanic drink called tejate in the market, and in the markets, and they make their tejate every early Sunday morning using those leaves. They also make terracotta pottery that they sell in the Sunday market, and they use the leaves for making their pottery and to heat up their coffee, and they live off of those leaves.
What about the root?
The root, usually the root is left in the field, and then when you go to prepare your land again, you dig up all the roots, and over the course of those 10 years, other bushes have grown up. So it's hard work. You get out the root, you get out all the bushes. Either you burn them or you take them back to where you live.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So
Thank you.
you on the backs of mules or in a pickup truck, you bring your carbohydrate-rich. Oh, the quiote. Okay, that's grown up tall. When that dries, it's also used as firewood. It can be used to make a log cabin as well. And when you have the quiote and you've cut it off and you've used it to make mezcal, the bottom part of that quiote still has a lot of carbohydrates in it. So you can grind up the bottom part of the quiote, mix it with ground corn, and use it to make tortillas. So nothing is wasted. The fibers, the fibers from the leaves are still used to make rope called ixtle. If you've seen rope in any market that's not synthetic, it's made from fiber, dried fiber that's been spun together. Okay. Previously, it was used to make a pale green dye. It can be used to make a needle and thread, because you'll see later big plants and there's a needle sharp point on them. If you break off the needle point sharp point and you pull it down, a piece of fiber attaches to it, and that can be used as a needle and thread. So nothing is wasted. Okay. So we bring our agave piñas here. It goes down 6 or 8 feet, or a couple of meters for Mexicans and Canadians. So you put logs in the bottom of the pit with kindling, for whatever you use for kindling, and you light them up, and then you put a mound of rocks like you have here on top of the logs. And initially there's a lot of smoke and a lot of flames. After 5 or 6 hours, again, everybody's a little bit different, you're ready to bake your agave. But if you put your agave on top of the hot rocks, they'll burn. So there's a fiber that's produced, the discarded fiber from the distillation process, which I'll explain to you. You put wet fiber on top of the rocks to insulate the rocks from the piñas. Okay. Then you put your piñas around the outside of the pit and on top of this bagasso. Okay. To about this height. Again, everybody's a little bit different. When I was with Cynthia, there was a huge mound like that high, but they're usually about that height. And this oven cabe como 3 toneladas, 4, 5. Okay. So this will hold up to 5 tons of agave piñas. Okay. If they're big, they'll be quartered or halved. If they're small, they'll be left just the way they are. The bigger pieces are closer to the heat source usually. Okay. This will hold up to 5 tons. Okay. Okay. Again, everybody's different. Many people on top of the green piñas will put another layer of that wet fiber. Most people don't, some people do. The one person that we met a few months ago put the acacia leaves. Okay? So, but at minimum, you've got your logs, your firewood, your protection, your bagasso, your piñas, and then grain sacks that have been sewn together, or tarpaulins, hoja de plátano, okay, leaves, banana leaves, gabasso, okay, the bagasso he was saying, or plastic, or petates, which are palm leaf mats.
Ahí en Albarradas ponen la piña del maguey pulquero.
Ah, las hojas.
No, la piña.
La piña.
Del maguey pulquero en las piedras calientes.
Ah,
Porque dicen que resiste más.
ah,
que
okay.
no sé qué.
Y después
Y
Espelín y lo
después
demás.
las piñas del
Okay,
lagar.
so what Cynthia is saying, where we're going to be going to, quite often they'll put the piñas from the a different species of agave that will resist charring and burning too much. So